Now, Joe, if you are our resident horror movie correspondent, as you are, I would like to start branding myself as our resident sad bastard correspondent because, Jesus, Joe, I've been seeing some sad movies lately.
About some bastards.
Last week, well, I'm the bastard.
Oh, you're the
I don't want
bastard.
to. No, yeah, the people in the movie aren't sad. I'm sad bastard because I go to sad movies.
Got it.
Last week it was We Live in Time. This week, Small Things Like These. I need help, Joe. I'm drowning in my own tears. Small Things Like These is a historical drama directed by Tim Malance, who has mostly worked in TV on shows like Peaky Blinders and one of my favorites, The Terror. Nice. The script was written by Irish playwright Enda Walsh, based on the 2021 novel by Irish writer Claire Keegan. And it's one of those movies where in the opening production credits, it's like the Irish Film Council in this. It was a very national production, national Irish production, which is always cool to see, those countries that have like a vibrant arts funding and arts endowments.
Well, we do have red wine.
Sure. Now, if you've seen Peter Mullen's excellent movie, The Magdalene Sisters from 2002, you know about the historical context of Small Things Like These. If you don't, I can summarize it very quickly. There were these things in Ireland called the Magdalene Asylums. They were Catholic-run institutions that were active from the 18th century all the way up to 1996, which is fucking crazy. Their ostensible purpose was to house fallen women, to provide sanctuary to fallen women. But in practice, they became these abusive, repressive death factories where essentially young women who got pregnant outside of marriage were sent to these places to be morally rehabilitated. And what happened is they would be violently abused, demeaned, humiliated, made to work for no pay, their freedom stripped from them, basically imprisoned without a trial. And then their babies, when they had their children, were adopted out to other families, and they weren't allowed to keep their own babies.
If I may,
that's fucking insane.
That's crazy.
It's fucking insane. It's one of these chapters in history, like, I don't know, like Japanese internment camps or something, where you read about it and you're like, wait, but what? Like, how?
That was fucked up, but that was like 3 to 5 years during World War II.
No, very
like,
true. This was
you just had like
centuries.
150 years
yes,
of
no.
it. Like, what the fuck?
I don't want to compare tragedies. Just like one of those things where you read about and you're like, what the fuck? How did this? But this is what Small Things Like These looks at, is kind of how does this happen in the midst of a otherwise nice little small town? How do you have a Magdalene, institution there? And, because the other movie I talked about, Peter Mullen's The Magdalene Sisters, which I would definitely check out, is more of like a big, huge historical kind of, period piece about the Magdalene asylums and about the women who went there and their stories and the things that happened. It's a very big, big movie. Small Things Like These is a much smaller movie, a much quieter movie, and it happens kind of like in the shadow of a Magdalene institution rather than kind of inside the depths of it. I found this movie to be very powerful, very affecting, definitely worth your time. It stars, speaking of Oppenheimer, Cillian Murphy, coming off his big win as a coal merchant in this small-ish Irish town, and he is just the most quiet, unassuming guy you could ever imagine. He delivers the coal around town, he goes home to his family, he keeps to himself. But then two things happen that throw his entire life into crisis.
What?
One, he discovers that this Magdalene institution in town, which he delivers coal to, has been imprisoning one of these fallen women in his coal shed overnight. So one morning he comes very early to deliver the coal because he can't sleep, and then he finds this girl like locked in there. And then he comes back the next day and same thing. So he sort of starts to find out the horrible, despicable things going on inside this otherwise sort of closed, walled-off religious institution. And then two, he starts to confront some things from his own past that make this discovery very personal to him, and something that even the quietest guy in the town can't ignore. This brings him into conflict with Emily Watson. We get a great Emily Watson performance in this movie. She plays the chilling, autocratic mother superior who will do whatever she can to keep these injustices a secret, and she plays the mother superior like she's in a Scorsese movie. It's amazing. She plays the mother superior as like a mob boss, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. But Murphy is the heart and soul of the movie. He gives a really stunning performance here and elevates this movie from just a period piece to, I think, what is I found it to be a very timely movie, a kind of strikingly timely movie, because it is about personal responsibility in the face of power and corruption at the highest levels. It asks the question that I think a lot of people are asking right now and have been asking over the last, however many years, which is like, what is the responsibility of just a guy who delivers coal in town and keeps to himself and raises his family and is already tired and stressed from just his normal life? What is his responsibility when faced with this just massively impossible Catholic power corruption, prison? Like, what do you do?
What's he do?
Are you supposed to do anything? Can you do anything?
Does he do something?
And everybody in his life is telling him, don't do anything, don't do anything, don't do anything. And Killian's performance is so good. He has just, at this point in his career, he has just so many like veteran moves, so many like masterful moves. You know when like Albert Pujols in season 20 on like one leg would just sort of like slap a single and you're like, that's a veteran move. Right. He has so many veteran moves in this movie. And the one that I really liked is he does this thing from the very first scene where he's like avoiding eye contact with everybody else in the scene, almost as like a tick. Like he's just one of these guys who like doesn't make eye contact. And it's enough that you notice it, but not so much that it feels unrealistic. And as the movie develops, that little tick becomes this incredible sort of double meaning symbol where it's personally a result of his own childhood trauma, you kind of find out, but then it's also this incredible symbol of a town where you are supposed to look the other way. You're supposed to not look things in the eye. You're supposed to ignore. You're supposed to not, that's not my business. So it's just such a masterful little trick that he does that really gives the movie that added texture and richness and depth. I sum this movie up as what if Taxi Driver starred the world's meekest man, because you get this just shy every guy who doesn't want anything to do with any problems, and then he has to confront this great evil, and he
goes there at the end. You compared to Taxi Driver, so he goes in there.
He confronts the evil. I will not say to what extent. You don't get a full Taxi Driver ending, but he
makes a choice.
He makes a choice.
Okay,
it sounds
very. Is it good?
It's very good. It's not a perfect movie. A couple things that I didn't like about it. I love my slow cinema.
Oh, for sure.
But there's a limit, Joe.
Uh-oh.
This movie could have moved a little faster. It's a little too slow at times, and it doesn't.
Top.
There's a lot of delivering the coal around town, which I actually loved. I loved watching him deliver the coal, but it doesn't. It's like a little too slow at times, with not enough happening to offset the slowness.
Do conversations kind of happen by candlelight?
There's not a whole lot of dialogue. There's a lot of quietness, a lot of Cillian alone. Killian alone. I'm sorry. That's my. I keep anglicizing that.
God,
C.
you hate the Irish. Can you please honor them?
I'm
by
so
using
sorry.
Their name
Killian, hard C. And the hard C is so much cooler than the soft C. Killian. But the movie does really pick up steam in its closing section. It has a great sort of final 30 minutes, and overall, I'd highly recommend it.